Good morning. Welcome to the Old Lady Podcast. It is Monday, June 22nd. We had the solstice yesterday, and boy, do I have stories to tell you, and knitting to show you, and books to talk about. I'll see you after the break. Last week was very interesting. That's the way to say it. Yeah, interesting. So on Wednesday, I went with Julia, my daughter, to the OB-GYN, and that's always a fun thing. So Julia discovered last summer when we were in France that she had some growths, and we've gone through the process and we realized she has fibroids. And a couple weeks ago, she had an MRI done. So we went to the OB-GYN last Wednesday to look at the MRI pictures and to discuss next steps. Yeah. I'm always a little nervous about how my doctor's office personality is going to manifest, but this was an entire new one. So our doctor's office personalities are just, Julie and I both have them, where we're witty and we're funny and we say inappropriate things and the doctors think we're charming. Yeah, I did not do that this time. So we went into his office. It wasn't even an exam room. It was his office. And he's sitting behind his desk and he's showing us pictures of these enormous fibroids. And I realized as I'm sitting there that I'm starting to feel a little funny. And as he's talking, and I'm participating in the conversation, and he's discussing the fact that she's got two giant fibroids that are over 10 centimeters large and some other ones. And he's talking about the fact that she's going to have to take medication to reduce the size of these things so he can go in and remove them laparoscopically. And as he's talking, this is the conversation in my head. Leanne, why are you feeling faint? You're not squeamish. Leanne, what is your problem? Just take some deep breaths. Take some deep breaths. Think about happy things. Next thing I know, Julia is looking down at me going, Mom, are you okay? Yes. I passed out at the doctor's office. I've never done that before, ever. So I think it was a combination of several things, not the least of which was looking at a picture of your daughter's abdomen that is completely filled with fibroid tumors. That may have been the kicker. Not sure. But I also had a super full bladder, TMI, and I had just woken up from a nap, and I may have been a little bit goofy, Anyway, apparently, so the other side of the story is Julia's side of the story, who was convinced I was dying in the doctor's office, which I feel so badly that I frightened her. Of course I frightened her. I mean, it would frighten me. It has frightened me when my mother or my sister has done something scary like that. And so apparently what happened is she and the doctor are talking and I'm already passed out, and she apparently hears me breathing funny. And I was sitting to her left. So she's talking to the doctor facing to her right, and she hears this weird breathing. She turns around. Apparently I'm like, and I'm passed out. I'm sitting upright. I did not fall or anything like that. I'm sitting in the chair. And Julia's like, she's snapping at the doctor, trying to get his attention because she's freaking out. She thinks I'm having a stroke. And the doctor looks over and goes, oh, she's fine. She's breathing. And Julia's like, no, my mom, there's something wrong. And he's like, she's fine. She's fine. She just passed out. It's no big deal. And Julia's like, she's having a stroke. She's dying. Oh my God. Well, we had made plans for this trip. We were going to go to the OB-GYN, and then afterwards we were going to go and we were going to get a little adult beverage. And I had been looking forward to a margarita for several weeks now. So after I came to, I realized, the tummy and I need to get to the bathroom right now. So Julia got me to the bathroom, and of course I'm sitting on the toilet and I'm like, hand me the bucket. She hands me the trash can. And as I'm doing my thing with my head in the bucket, I look up and I go, Julia, I think that margarita just turned into a Sprite. Yeah. And we did not go get a Sprite. We went home, and it took me a solid 24 hours before I felt normal again. I came home and I went to sleep, and I just couldn't eat anything. And so the next day I'm Googling this. I'm like, what happened? And the bottom line is this has nothing to do with being squeamish. It's a vagus nerve reaction. When it goes, there's nothing you can do. You just sit there and enjoy the process. And the reason it took me so long to recover from this was all the adrenaline that floods your system. Anyway, I'm fine. I'm not dying. I did not have a stroke. My daughter is still like, are you okay? I've only fainted 3 times in my entire 70 years, right? The first one was in Thailand. I was there on a work visit, fabulous trip. We'll talk about that sometime because that was a whole other adventure. And I was staying in this very, very nice hotel, which probably was costing the company like $25 a night or something. Just, 5-star, fancy schmancy. And I had gotten up in the middle of the night. This was like the second or third night I was there. I'd gotten up in the middle of the night because my tummy was upset. And I was sitting on the toilet releasing things as one does after one has eaten things off the street in Thailand. And the next thing I know, I'm on the floor. And it was like, it must have been really fast. Whereas this in the doctor's office, there was a long process of me going, oh crap, this is happening. Maybe 4 minutes. Whereas this in Thailand was like, and then the second time, and I was fine. Actually it was fine because the next day I didn't have any residual anything. So I was able to carry on and do my duty in Thailand. And the second time was during COVID. For somehow, some way, I got C. diff, and we still can't figure out how that happened. And I had gotten up to go to the bathroom, and I guess I passed out in my room, and Julia was freaking out because she's like, oh my gosh, my mom is dying. Because that's always the default, right? And she won't go to the hospital because it's COVID. I mean, this was early in COVID. This was maybe April or May after we'd shut down in March, so things are just chaotic. And she knows that I would refuse to go to the hospital. So she calls, ask a nurse, and the nurse is like, she probably has really low blood pressure. Has she eaten? And so she's giving me, I'm on the ground and she's trying to put applesauce or something in my mouth to give me some, I was fine. Bottom line, I was fine. The C. diff was a whole nother thing, but fortunately they prescribed antibiotic over the phone and I got over it. It was great. Anyway, that was apparently fainting is my new doctor's office personality, and I'm not going to redo this. Although I will say that after everything kind of settled down and the doctor removed us from his office. Apparently he doesn't like it when patients throw up in his office. It's a weird thing. I mean, he's a doctor. How hard could it be? And he looked at me, he looked at Julie and he says, I'll see you in 3 months. He gave her some medication. And he looks at me, he goes, and I won't see you. And then he laughed and he goes, haha, just kidding. I go, you're not kidding, and I'll be fine next time. Anyway, that's that. So the plan with the fibroid situation is she's been put on a medication that is one that they give to people with endometriosis. It shrinks. It's putting her in a temporary menopause. So we're anticipating some crazies over the next 3 months. You never know. I didn't go crazy when I was in menopause, though, so maybe there won't be. And hopefully he can shrink these by 20%, and then he'll go in. And he has a specialty in what they call minimally invasive gynecological surgery, and they do the whole thing laparoscopically, which is awesome. Anyway, there was that story. Well, Saturday, Julie and I did get to have our little adult beverage because we ran away from home. So the situation at our house this weekend is that William was here and Sam's brother Ben came into town. And it was a testosterone-laden festival of boy things. They were supposed to go to Disneyland, and that was the plan for Thursday. Thursday, they were supposed to go to Disneyland, and somehow it just didn't pan out. So they came back here, and they spent all day here on Thursday. Then they found out they got to go to Disneyland on Friday, and they got all the way to Disneyland in line, parked. It didn't work. See, we have a friend that works there, and they were trying to get him in and stuff. So no Disneyland. So all day Thursday and Friday, the boys are here. playing video games and doing boy things. And Saturday, I don't know, they got a lot done. We got the pool up, we got the cover to our Casbah, to our, gazebo change. The backyard is ready for summer. We're very excited about that. But about 11 o'clock on Saturday morning, I'm sitting in my chair knitting, and Julia comes in, she goes, "We're leaving, we're going to get beverages, and we're not coming back." I'm like, "Okay." I said, "What time do you wanna leave?" She goes, "I don't know, 3 or 4." So I went down went and laid down for my nap, and I had a little snooze, and I got up about 1:30, and she's like, "How fast can you take a shower and get out of here?" I'm like, "Oh, we're at that stage now." So I got ready, and we headed out about 2:30, which which was considerably earlier than our 4 o'clock appointment. And we went to this small little Mexican restaurant, and we sat at the bar. I knit at the bar, as you can see from the picture. And we just sat and chatted, and it was just really fun. And yes, I had a margarita, and I have to say, holy crap on a cracker, that was strong. I mean, strong. I can usually do 2 margaritas and be not minimally buzzed, but moderately buzzed. This was like, "Oh, crap, I'm not even gonna get through this one." So we had him put a little more water and a little more, margarita mix in it, and that helped, but it was like, wow. And yes, I've been drinking considerably less alcohol over the last couple of months. I used to be a glass of wine a night person, and then I decided, my 70-year-old liver would probably appreciate if I didn't do that, and my pocketbook would probably appreciate it if I didn't buy wine every day. Well, I don't buy it every day. Drink wine every day. So I've been not drinking, except once in a while on the weekend, I'll get a bottle of wine, or we'll go out or do something like that, and so it's very casual, but this was just so anyway, we sat there, we ate, we talked, it was great. We got home about 5:30 or so, and the boys are still milling about. Sam had a concert that night, so he left for his rehearsal, and then Ben and William were playing video games, and Julie and I just chilled and went in our room, and it was great. No, that's not true. I lied. We didn't do that. Julia did not go in her room. She went out and sat in the Casbah and was journaling and reading and things, and I came out because we did stop and buy a bottle of wine, and I came out with the wine, and she and I sat in the Casbah and chatted, and it was so fun because she was asking me questions about my childhood. And so I got to reminisce about my grandparents and about my sister and our friends when we were in high school and college and stuff. And it was just a really fun chat. And she did record some of it because I said, when I die, I'm the last of the Mohicans when it comes to these stories. My sister's gone, my parents are gone, and that's it. That was the family. And when I go, it's like there's nobody who knows these stories. And I think I may have said something to you the other day that I was listening to a piece of music, the Kodai Misa Brevis. Is that right? Was it the Kodai Misa Brevis? Like that's how ingrained. I haven't sung it in what, 50 something years. And I remembered performing this, and I remember who the soprano soloist was, and it was somebody I went to high school with, and I messaged her out of the blue, and I go, "Did you sing this?" And she goes, "I did." I said, "That was a weird neuron that fired." So I'm having all these weird, like, Brandenburg 5 concerto came on, and that was a piece I played in high school. I was the flute player because we had an extraordinary harpsichordist, John Sutherland, who went to my high school at that time, and I don't remember who the violinist was, and that was driving me nuts, and I realized, who can I ask? My sister would remember. She's gone. So I don't know. So if you went to Samohai with me in 1973, in the fall of 73, when we did the Brandenburg Fifth Concerto, who was the violinist? I don't remember. So while we were at the bar, not only was I knitting and chatting, we talked to the bartender. See, this is our favorite thing to do. We don't usually sit in a restaurant in a thing. We like to sit at the bar, not because we're drinking so much, but because a bar is usually open and you don't have to wait for a seat. So we were sitting there, And I was teasing the bartenders. And of course, this is a Mexican restaurant. So 97% of the beverages they make are margaritas. And the guys were doing the shaking thing. And I said, be aware. I embarrass people wherever I go because I have zero filter and I'm just nuts. So he's shaking these. And I said, could you tell me, please, is there a law that says you have to shake them up here? And he said to me, and Julia's like, Mom, he goes, because if we shake them down here, people won't like that. And I went, oh my gosh, I am such an idiot. So yes, don't take me anywhere. Which reminds me, there have been at least 50 people who have said they want to meet up with us in New York in August. And I'm like, I'm going to embarrass myself. They will think they're meeting this very, I don't know, what will they think after reading this funny woman? And I'm just going to be really hideously embarrassing. I don't know. So let's talk about the knitting this week because I finished a pair of socks. I finished the socks that I was going to show you. And these socks are called Field of Poppies. And the original pattern has the poppies knitted in red, but I went with California poppies. So here's, oh, that's not great. So the center is called a duplicate stitch, and I kind of did a piss poor job on that, but you get the idea. I mean, it's flowers in nature, right? I did a little heel color, a little this, a little that. So those are the socks I finished, and I'm pleased with those. My daughter really likes them. I have a feeling Julia's going to nab these. She really likes these. And then I started work on the sock for Linda, the bestie. So anyway, I got the first part of Linda's sock done without too many problems. This is a pattern that I transcribed from a picture off Pinterest because I couldn't find the pattern. I would have bought the pattern, but I couldn't find it. So I transcribed it. So Linda loves all things desert. So I made these socks for her. They're cute, right? Cactus, da 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 da. And I thought, I want to do a red heel. And I decided I would learn a new kind of heel. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my third attempt at getting this heel right, and I'm still not super happy with it. But I realized something about myself, and that was after I knit it the first time and it didn't work and I ripped it out, I could have gone with the heel that I always do, that I can knit in my sleep, that there is no IQ test whatsoever involved in that heel. And I said, no, I want to learn how to do this heel. This is called a short row heel. And there are a million different kinds of heels that you can knit in socks. And I do one called heel flap and gusset. It's programmed into my brain. I can do it without thinking. This one, IQ test. And I really don't think I officially passed it. Yes, it looks like a heel, but if I show you what it looks like, you'll see that I'm going to need to do some serious repair. Oh, I guess it really isn't that bad. Anyway, these are Linda socks. I should finish this one. My arm is tired. I can feel my muscles here are a little tired I've been knitting a lot and I probably need to back off a little bit. So I'll finish this one and I'll start the second one. And then I have my next pair of socks already planned. This is for Sister Westerly. I have the yarn. I have the pattern. I just have to cast them on and I'm holding myself back so I can finish Linda's socks, but I'm very excited about hers. She lives in Hawaii, as you know, and I'm going to make them a little bit shorter so they're more wearable in a tropical climate because everyone knows you need wool socks in a tropical climate. No, you don't. Anyway. And the reading situation. Let's talk about the books. So I finished Whistler. And like I told you last week, that's probably the best book I've read in years. It was just incredible. But it's left me with a slight book hangover, right? So I told you about the book I was reading, Almost Life, the literary fiction romance about two lesbian women. It was long. It was long, and these women really never got their act together. I mean, it was just their encounters with one another were so fraught and so dishonest, and I don't know. It was okay. I know that everybody's raving about and there were moments of beautiful writing. I mean, really, it's well written. It's just that it just felt like it went on ad nauseum. So that's done. I give it a B. That is a respectable grade. Not a B minus, but a B. I finished The Nighthawks, Ellie Griffith's 11th book in the Ruth Galloway murder series. I think I've only got 2 or 3 left. I'm very sad about finishing this, but we'll get through it. I picked up The Midnight Train by Matt Haig. I'm about halfway through. It's not what I was expecting, and that might be part of the problem. And also, I just finished Whistler, which is another problem. So the premise of this book is that there is a man who dies at 83, and he's taken and his journey back through his life after his death is on this train, and he's taken to the various scenes of his life. And it's cute. It's okay. It needs something, but I'm going to keep listening. So there's that. I'm reading a book by Andrew Sean Greer, who wrote the book Less and Less is Lost. Less was the character. And those were I enjoyed those books. They were very interesting. I read them maybe 3 or 4 years ago. This one, Via Coco, it's fun. It's wild. It's crazy because the characters are crazy. So the premise is we have this young man who's just graduated from college. I think we're in the 90s, thereabouts. And right after college, he gets a job in Italy as an archivist. At least that's what he thinks. When in reality, he's actually hired by this 94-year-old woman who is a spitfire and is a little bit crazy. And it's just him getting used to Italy and learning about the weirdness and this delightful woman who's the Baroness and her friend, the princess, so it's a character study basically. And I'm very much enjoying that. I'm going to start a historical fiction novel by Renee Rosen. She writes really interesting historical fiction. She does a lot of research and they're very accessible to me. This one is called What the Lady Wants, and it takes place during the Gilded Age, and it's about the man and his wife who started the store Marshall Fields. So it takes, we get the fire in Chicago and other things. So I read a review about this earlier today, and I thought, that sounds interesting. I'm in the mood for something historical like that, and that sounds really interesting. I'm also still waiting to find Off the Record by Sarah Goodman Confino. I can't find it at the library, and the only place the audiobook is for sale is on Audible, but I'm still looking. I really want to read that one. So that's the book sitch. You have the knitting sitch, the book sitch, the fainting sitch. My life is nothing if not weird. Looking forward to the week. It's a quiet week. I don't have a lot going on. I'm very excited to get some socks done. I'm excited to get into these new books. Yeah. Nothing else really interesting happening. All is well in Snarkville. I hope you all have a wonderful week. It's summer. The kids are out of school. Our lives shift a little bit. The sun is up longer. Yesterday was the solstice. It was very fun that I didn't have to turn a light on to knit until like 8:30 last night. Yeah, the garden is in full bloom. We've got squash coming. I got the report this morning from William that our cucumbers are this big now, so we'll be picking them this week. And the tomatoes are going, so summer is in full swing. Maybe I'll have a little dip in the pool later. You never know. Getting out of the pool, not so fun. Oh well, we'll figure it out. Have a wonderful week. May all in your life be blessed with joy and happiness and light. Bye-bye.